We have liftoff, a milestone in the new commercial space race. The COVID booster debate just gets more complicated here. And what is the best song of all time? Rolling Stone says,
Go get your
Need
freak
to
on.
know. Thursday Need to Know. Let's go, guys. Good morning, everybody. This is Cheddar's Need to Know podcast for September 16th. And as you can hear, I'm Carlo Versano with Baker filling in today.
Good to
Jill,
see you.
Good to see you. Jill is atoning. She will be back tomorrow. And we're a little bit late today for reasons beyond our control. But thank you, Baker, as always, for pitching in.
Always. You know me. I love as much attention as I can possibly get, Carlo. Good to see you on this Thursday, Carlo. It is my birthday week this week. My birthday this
congrats.
weekend.
Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you. 37 seems like a good number for me. So I'm a little bit, I had a couple martinis last night. So if I'm a little bit slower today, you'll understand why.
Oh, so you're turning the 37, the big 37 also. I can tell you it's a pretty boring milestone.
Yes.
Nothing.
Yes.
Nothing much happens.
I can already tell just in terms of it's funny as you get older, the planning that you go through for your birthday party is progressively get smaller and smaller and smaller. And now you're just like, you know what? If I have a cocktail, RuPaul's Drag Race or The Housewives on, that's totally fine. I don't need a big thing.
I love that you're still even having birthday parties. I can't remember the last time I threw myself a birthday party.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe for the big 4-0.
Yeah, maybe, but who knows? Maybe this is my last one. Who knows what's going to happen here? Carlo, we do have a lot to get to on this Thursday, so let's dive right into the news. And this one, let's start out of this world with the stuff that happened yesterday. For the first time ever, an entity other than a global superpower has now launched humans in orbit around the Earth. SpaceX's Inspiration 4 mission blasted off last night from Cape Canaveral, carrying 4 civilians on board for a 3-day trip around the Big Blue Marble. Now, the crew is as follows, and it's an interesting one, and a lot of normal people, except for this one, Jared Isaacman, a billionaire who is financing the adventure. But then this is where things get pretty exciting. Haley Arsenault, a 29-year-old physician assistant at St. Jude, she now becomes the youngest American in space. Then you have Dr. Cyan Proctor, who becomes the very first black female to pilot a spacecraft. And then this one is the one I love the most. Chris Zimbrowski, he is a data engineer, but he's on this because he won a ticket in a raffle. Once they reach orbit, they'll be traveling Earth about once every 90 minutes, going a very fast 17,000 miles per hour, Carlo.
Incredible. If you watched the launch last night, really cool. It went off without a hitch. And remember, those Jeff Bezos and the Richard Branson trips from earlier this summer or this spring, whenever that was, they were just going to the cusp of suborbital space.
Exactly.
These guys are going the whole way. They're going even higher than the space station. They're going higher than the Hubble telescope. In fact, they're going higher than anyone has been since the Apollo era, and when that ended in the 1970s. So this is the real deal here. And also, unlike those Bezos and Branson vanity projects, which were cool in their own way, this is all for a good cause. Isaacman, the billionaire you mentioned, he's a payments processing guy. He made a fortune in sort of like the early days of internet credit card processing. He is the financier behind this. He's using this as a way to raise $200 million for St. Jude Children's Hospital, which is an amazing cause. But definitely the most important of these, milestones when it comes to this new commercial space race. And they're up there now, and we'll see them splash down on the coast of Florida in a couple days.
Yeah, this is so cool, Carlo. The things, of course, I find the weird things interesting here. Only one bathroom that they're basically all allowed to share.
I was wondering how the bathroom thing works.
Yeah.
Okay, so they do have
one bathroom that you have to share amongst your peers for a few days. And then also they have to sleep and basically stay in the chairs that they lifted off in yesterday, which is interesting. So it's so funny because it's like, I could never sleep in the car. So it's imagine, just like sleeping in sort of like this chair that you can't get out of for a few days. But either way, incredible stuff to see yesterday.
I just think of little Franny, who also doesn't sleep in the car or anywhere else for that matter. So I don't think she would do very well on this trip.
All right, so let's talk booster shots and the big questions about what's going to happen with them, Carlo, because right now a pair of top FDA scientists now expressing skepticism over the need for those vaccine booster shots for the general population. They argue in the medical journal The Lancet that the current vaccines have not seen their effectiveness diminish enough to warrant another shot. And making matters even more complicated, both Pfizer and Moderna are saying their own data supports the case for a third dose because of the waning efficacy after about 6 months or so. Carlo, this just adds to more confusion about what we should all be doing right now. The Biden administration also sort of advocating for those booster shots, especially if you're part of the older population or the immunocompromised population. But literally the pushback from the FDA and even the CDC here and the World Health Organization has been pretty incredible, given the fact that you would think that they would try to go every which way to sort of protect all of us here.
Well, it's just nobody's on the same page, which has just been like the story of this not just this administration, but just the entire pandemic, really. Meanwhile, there's a separate study out of Israel that bolsters the argument coming from Pfizer and Moderna today, showing that the Israelis who got 3 doses of Pfizer, because they have been doing these boosters for a while now, were indeed much more protected against severe cases than those who just got 2. But I mean, of course they are, right? I mean, they're blasting more antibodies into you're going to have like superhuman immunity the more of these shots you get. The question is is it a good use of resources when you have most of the world that's still unvaccinated at all? The White House still planning to roll out this booster campaign for the general pop starting next week. September 20th is when it's supposed to start, still pending approval from the CDC and the FDA. All this, meanwhile, as we hit a very depressing new milestone yesterday, Baker. Listen to this. 1 in 500 Americans has now died of COVID-19.
Just awful numbers there, Carlo, and we know, especially still to this day in Texas and Florida, still, basically topping the list there. We're still averaging at about 150,000 cases a day, about 1,500 deaths per day. And again, 99% of those who are dying right now are those who are unvaccinated. So even still, we talk about this all the time, the likelihood that you're probably going to be getting these sort of booster combination flu shots probably for the foreseeable future, just because we know these variants are going to continue to mutate over time. And I guess now the mindset is going to be, even if the effectiveness is waning a little bit, as long as it's preventing you from serious illness and death, I think at the end of the day, that's going to be basically the thing you're going to be getting these shots for that reason anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the whole point of these the whole point of the vaccines was to keep people out of the hospital, which they're doing. And now it's like there's sort of this, like, I don't know what it is. It's almost like we're redefining what they're supposed to be doing, and people saying like, oh, well, you're still getting these breakthrough infections. They're not designed to keep everybody on Earth from getting COVID. They're designed to keep you from getting intubated, and they're doing that.
Right, good point. Very good point. Let's talk politics now, Carlo. The Biden administration standing by General Mark Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, amid a report that he circumvented the military chain of command during the waning days of the Trump presidency, that by telling his counterpart in China that he would give them a heads up if Trump ordered a nuclear strike on the country. The explosive details coming by the new, yet to be released book from Bob Woodward and Robert Costa. That one is basically going to be looking into the final days of the Trump presidency and the 2020 election as well. And we should note, Mark Milley is getting support from Joe Biden right now. He's also getting support from John Bolton, the former national security advisor to President Trump. But Milley, according to this book from Bob Woodward, even going as so far as to have a conversation with Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi in an effort to make sure in the last few days of the Trump presidency, President Trump didn't order a nuclear strike against anybody because he was concerned about Trump and his mental capacity then.
Which is insane that this was even a conversation that was being had. Milley, for his part, has confirmed that he spoke to his Chinese counterpart in the Chinese military in October, just before the election, and then again in January, 2 days after the Capitol riot. He says those conversations were well within the duties of his office. And I mean, he is the top general in the country. He took an oath of office to defend the Constitution from enemies, foreign and domestic. He pretty clearly thought that Trump was the latter, at least by these last days of his presidency and the period between the election and January 20th, when the wheels fell off of this administration completely. So he is now this sort of villain in the Trump cinematic universe. I mean, I don't know. It seems like he was doing right by the country, I guess. But he's also one of the generals who kept Trump from withdrawing from Afghanistan.
Yep,
don't forget.
exactly.
That's according to the reporting by Jonathan Swan in Axios from months ago. To me, that's a far bigger dereliction of duty than any of this stuff.
Well, look, and when Trump went into office, there was, a lot of talk out there, Carlo, that, he'll have adults in the room, Trump basically will have sort of these governors in place to kind of help him, against his worst instincts. Mm-hmm. And Milley basically was that. Really, at the end of the day, it seems like he might have been the only adult that might have been in the room at the time. And it makes you think, what sort of things did Mark Milley also help to make sure that didn't happen? That could have been cataclysmic for this country. But at the same time, it makes you very worried because, as you mentioned, Republicans are and Trump supporters are apoplectic about Mark Milley. Tucker Carlson was railing about him last night. And if Donald Trump is elected president again, you'd have to think that Trump learned his lesson to not have people like Mark Milley in his chain of command anymore, and he's only going to have sympathizers for the rest of it if he was elected president again. Carlo, let's talk about what happened also in Washington. Sad news, an incredible testimony from the top Olympic gymnasts, including Simone Biles and Michaela Maroney. They testified in front of the Senate about the sexual abuse that they suffered at the hands of Team USA's former doctor, Larry Nassar. In emotional testimony, Simone Biles blamed the FBI for turning a blind eye to the first reports of Nassar's abuse in 2015. Now, Allie Raisman also told senators that it took the Bureau 14 months to contact her after she had made her initial report, during which Nassar continued to sexually assault patients. We should note the FBI did fire that agent that was overseeing this particular case. But either way, just awful news, coming from the best gymnasts in the entire world about what they had to endure from Dr. Larry Nassar here, Carlo.
Just apropos of nothing, to show you how much my COVID has broken my brain, I thought you were saying that Biles blamed the FDA.
I know. My brain is not working either this morning.
Anyway, so FBI Director Christopher Wray, he was there as well in the room. He apologized to these gymnasts for the Bureau's failure to stop what he called, quote, this monster in Larry Nassar. I mean, it's like, how many times do these poor young women have to endure telling this story? It's been years now. And by the way, I mean, the first complaints against Nassar, I believe, didn't come from these women, but came back in 1997 when he was still employed at Michigan State University.
Yep, exactly.
As the doctor there. I mean, he was abusing girls until 2016. It's remarkable how long it took them to get a line on this guy and arrest him at long last.
Yeah, absolutely. And even Simone Biles, earlier on during the Olympics, had even said that one of the reasons that motivated her to come back was basically to showcase to other girls on Team USA, moving past Dr. Larry Nassar, because she was sort of like the last group of girls that was under the Larry Nassar, years. But either way, just it's so sad to watch what happened to these poor girls and the things that they had to go through. Let's talk about other things that are happening in Congress. Democratic lawmakers calling on Facebook now, Carla, to abandon their plans for an Instagram for kids. That following that bombshell Wall Street Journal report that the social media giant, aware that the current version of Instagram is leading to increased suicide risks for teenage girls. The demand comes on the heels of another journal expose citing internal documents that show a 2018 tweak to Facebook's newsfeed algorithm that was meant to improve users' well-being, but backfired and ended up making people more prone to outrage, and that Mark Zuckerberg has resisted proposals to fix any of this, Carlo.
The Journal, I don't know who they got talking to them on the inside, but they are on fire right now.
On fire, amazing.
They're calling this the Facebook files. They've been publishing these stories every day. If you, I don't know if they're behind the paywall at the Journal, but if you can, you should read them because they're really remarkable. The problem with Facebook, as we've discussed here many times, is very simple, right? The company makes money by making you spend as much time as possible on it. And the way to do that is to tinker with these sort of like base instincts of human nature, right? Outrage, comparing yourself to other people, FOMO. Those are the feelings that make people engage as they're finding out. They make people spend more time. The problem is they also make you feel worse about yourself, about your country, about your neighbors. The more you engage, though, the more ads you see, the more money they make. So I've always thought that, among the many, many problems with this company, it should obviously be broken up. Zuckerberg should be removed from his job as far as I'm concerned. He's a menace to America as far as I'm concerned. But Facebook, why not make it a subscription service, right? What if you completely changed the business model and made it so that you had to pay a couple bucks a month to access Facebook and Instagram? I mean, I guess their user base would go down slightly, but a lot of people would do that. It would mean that they wouldn't have to be so reliant on advertising. And it seems like that would be like the easiest fix that you could make right? A couple bucks a month, you get Facebook without the ads and without the algorithm.
I mean, part of the appeal, I think, Carlo, for these social platforms is that they are free. But we should note, anytime that something like this is free, you are the product. Your data, everything about you is basically what they're selling here. The story was so heartbreaking, and we should note, by the way, like it's not just teenage girls. I feel like that are inundated and feel terrible. All of us do when we're on Instagram. I mean, I suffer my own, sort of depression and mental problems based off of the things that I'm seeing of hot dudes in Speedos all day on Instagram, which is why I'm really hoping my algorithm just changes to dogs, which make me always happy. But the thing that broke my heart the most is a lot of these teenagers who are on Instagram who know that it's really bad for them, who are trying to get away from Instagram and start using it less, feel FOMO because all of their classmates, their peers, everybody else are on the platform, so they get back on it because they feel like they have to be included in all of this, and that breaks my heart even more because they feel like they can't get away from it. Now, this is interesting because it's now opened the door for TikTok here. TikTok coming out yesterday saying that they are looking into their own problems with mental health, but they're thinking that they can change the algorithm here to be a more safe environment for younger people to use their platform as opposed to Instagram. And I don't know what you can do to fix Instagram. In many ways, I feel like the cat is out of the bag here. I don't know how you sort of change the algorithm on Instagram to make things less toxic for you to view, but who knows? Maybe TikTok is going to be able to find something that makes it a better platform than Instagram when it comes to younger people using it.
Yeah, the problem with TikTok, of course, is you can't trust them, right? Because they're in bed with the Chinese government. So, yeah, if you don't trust Mark Zuckerberg, you really don't trust Beijing. Also, I'll tell you the one thing that I mean, first of all, I've said it a million times. I deleted Facebook years ago and never looked back. I still have an Instagram account, but I've taken a couple steps so that I don't really use it. I basically use it as just a way to broadcast photos every once in a while to my family and friends, I guess, because it's the easiest way to do that. But I deleted all the people I follow, so I don't even have an algorithm anymore. I don't follow anybody on there. I don't get any, I don't have an algorithm. There's nothing for them to show me. And I also turned off all notifications. So like I posted a picture the other day of Franny and I on the subway.
I love that photo.
Thank you. So yeah, it's very hard. It's very hard to get out of the grip of some of these social media platforms. And by the way, Twitter is not a whole lot better, right? Twitter is basically an open air insane asylum. It's just that it doesn't have the it doesn't have the sort of like the photo, the visual aspect that Instagram does. But we, again, I've said it before. Jill has said it. You've said it. Like, we have got to do something about this when it comes to teen girls, because it's one thing to make you and I feel bad about our bodies or ourselves, but we're grown men. Young girls, we have to protect them.
Absolutely, Carlos. Such a good point. All right. Some news I actually really like here. You might be able to finally get rid of the passwords that are just bouncing around in your brain. Microsoft rolling out password-free authentication for all users. This after they tested the feature for corporate accounts. So that means all 1 billion Microsoft account holders can turn off their password and replace it with a different form of authentication, so long as they have the Microsoft Authenticator app installed on their phone. Carlo, I hate the amount of times that I have to change a password every so often for security purposes. A lot of companies make you do it every other month or so, and I can never remember them. And as a result of it, then I have basically a list, a document where I'm like putting all these passwords to remember all of them, which I know is also a terrible thing because it's like that could be accessed and hacked by somebody else. So I am.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. So I am 100% on board for any sort of authenticator app or some sort of other process to confirm my identity that doesn't have to use a password. And I do want to note other companies, not just Microsoft, are also moving towards this direction as well.
Google and Apple both, and I say get on with it. I mean, the password situation completely out of control. I don't have any more passwords in me.
No, me neither.
Me neither. I've used them all up.
Right.
I've used all the combinations, and like you said, I have a document on my computer that has all my passwords. But of course, that is not itself password protected.
No.
Right. So like all you got to do is get my MacBook, and then you have all my passwords. It's not like it even matters. I don't keep any state secrets anywhere. But before somebody writes in and tells me to get a password manager, which people do every time that I complain about passwords, I don't want that. I don't want one. I don't want a new thing. I don't want a new thing that I got to buy and then I got to do. I just want a better way of doing things. The Authenticator app, it's something. The problem with those, of course, is that you have to have your phone on you at a specific moment in time. So sometimes it's annoying. You got to get the text. But hey, it's better than the passwords. The passwords are so it's just from another era at this point.
And by the way, I think this is where we're transitioning to. I think there's going to be authenticator apps where you're either putting in a code or you're just like confirming with your face identity or your thumbprint or all those other sorts of things. But I'm with you, Carlo. I'm out of passwords. There's only so many sort of dates, names, sports athletes, all these sorts of passwords that that I've been doing over the years that I'm like, I'm running out of things now. I can't keep doing this every other month or so just to protect the security of all my accounts anymore.
The old faithful PA55 word. There's only so many combos you can make from that one, right?
Yes, exactly. All right, let's end on this amazing story, Carlo. Rolling Stone has remade their famous list of the 500 greatest songs of all time for the first time since 2004. The magazine pulled 250 musicians, producers, and industry insiders, and they tabulated their answers to create the new comprehensive list of the best songs ever. And coming in at number one, and by the way, you're not going to get me to disagree with this one, Aretha Franklin's Respect, the number one song of all time, apparently.
And just filling out the top 10 here. Number 2, Public Enemy, Fight the Power. Number 3, that's kind of an interesting choice. Sam Cooke, A Change Is Gonna Come. Number 4, Bob Dylan, Like a Rolling Stone. I would have chosen a different Bob Dylan song, frankly. But number 5, Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit. Followed by the Beatles, Strawberry Fields Forever. Missy Elliott, Get Your Freak On. That's a classic. Fleetwood Mac, Dreams, another classic, and Outkast, Hey Ya, another one. So if you read this list, it's first of all, I feel like these lists are made to like make people's heads explode.
Oh, 100%, right? Absolutely.
Right? You're like Missy Elliott before Prince. What?
Yes, you're like, wow, how did Missy Elliott become the 8th best song ever created? We're talking about ever created. Get your freak on. Come get your freak on. Number 8 is amazing. And also Outkast, Hey Ya, the 10th best song ever. I mean, I hear that song at every wedding all the time. Yeah. But look, Robin, Dancing on My Own was number 20, which, I totally absolutely love that. You had Kanye West make the top 20 as well. But I'm 100% in the same boat with you. I think these lists are sort of designed to get us sort of talking and arguing about it, to be like, Aretha Franklin, does she deserve to be number 1 on this thing? Which she does, by the way. But either way, I still think it's amazing that they've updated this and that Missy Elliott cracked the top 10. Congratulations to her.
And by the way, a lot of these songs are on our official Need2Know party playlist, which I will remind everybody. Is still going strong. I'm still making some adjustments to it, but you can find that on Spotify. Just search for Instant Party by Need2Know, or it's also linked on my Twitter account. I'm just trying to get more subscribers to this thing because I think it's a really good. It's a 6-hour party mix. And it'll do the job. I guarantee it.
We'll probably play it at my birthday party this weekend, Carlo. We'll just go jamming with that. As somebody who loves a good playlist, creating a playlist is one of my favorite things ever. I feel like I'm always in constant search for the best party playlist. So now I guess I found mine.
Yes, absolutely. So check that out. And Baker, thank you as always. A meaningful Yom Kippur to all of those who observe and are fasting today. Don't worry, it'll be sunset before you know it. You'll be able to eat as much as you want. Yes. And Gama Hatava Tova, which I hope I pronounced the right way.
Good job.
I probably didn't. Jill will tell me tomorrow. But anyway, yes, thank you for listening. Baker, thank you. See you guys tomorrow, and that's what you need to know for Thursday, September 16th.